Hello, I'm Matt Galloway, and this is the Current Podcast. The Olympics start next month, and in the coming weeks, we are going to be speaking with some Canadian athletes about their sport, their training, and their hopes for Paris 2024. We begin with a man who won bronze at the Tokyo Olympics.
Just meters towards the finish line. He was denied a podium in Rio, but not this time. Not on the streets of Sapporo. Canada's Evan Dunfee has won bronze in Tokyo 2020.
What an amazing race. What a tactician. He nailed it. He timed it perfectly and he kept us on the edge of our seats.
Evan Dunfee is one of Canada's and the world's fastest walkers. That was his podium finish in the 50-kilometer race walk at the Tokyo Olympics in 2021. Now, you might think that 50 kilometers sounds grueling. It is. Now, Evan Dunfee is getting set for Paris at a different distance. He joins us now from Richmond, British Columbia. Evan, good morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. Listening back to that from Tokyo, what do you remember about that moment?
I've replayed that clip hundreds of times now. I use it when I do my school talks, and just that moment as the camera pans up and you see my purple shoes in the background moving past the athlete in third place with about 100 meters to go, finally moving into that medal position. And in my head, that is inextricably linked with the image I have of all my friends and family back home watching and seeing that moment and erupting in their own sort of cheers of joy. And so just a great moment, 20 plus years of dreaming of that moment coming true.
How fried are you when you are walking across the finish line in a 50-kilometer race?
I think I felt a lot better coming across that line in third than I would have had I been 10 seconds later in fourth. But, that 50K in Sapporo, it was 30, 34, 35 degrees. Yeah. So you're just absolutely toast. But was really, really happy that my body gave me that last little gear so I could charge home and find that finish line as quickly as I did.
Can I just, one more thing on that? Just what does it feel like to walk that kind of distance?
When you're trained for it, it feels great. I mean, preparing for Tokyo, I was doing 2 40+ K walks a week. So be able to just go out and casually walk a 3-hour and 15-minute marathon, and then get on with the rest of your day, knowing that your body is capable of that was an amazing feeling. I liked that feeling. I liked just knowing how fit my body was and capable of doing something like that. And then, going out for brunch with friends and then being like, oh, what'd you do today? And just, I just walked a marathon this morning. And wait, what? Sorry?
Yeah, that is not a casual walk for most people, but you're not most people. You've described, I've heard that you say this a few times, described your sport as running with rules. That's what race walking is. Can you explain what those rules are?
Yeah, so we have to have one foot always in contact with the ground, as seen by the human eye. So one of the annoying things is if you slow us down and watch us in slow motion, we're all off the ground a little bit. There's a slight moment in time when both our feet are off the ground, and everyone looks at that and says, "Oh, well, you're all cheating." And the way the rule is written, it has to be noticeable to the human eye, and so that's one rule. And then the second rule is our front leg has to be straight when it lands on the ground and remain straight as it passes under our body. So if you think about when you're running, you're basically jumping from step to step. There's a moment in time when both your feet are off the ground and you're landing with that bent leg to absorb some of that shock and give yourself a spring to push off on. Race walking, we're working just as hard. We're in a race to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. We're just a little bit confined by those rules that slow us down relative to how fast we could go if we were running. As you said, still going, not a casual speed, still going upwards of, my 20-kilometer race pace is about 15.5 kilometers an hour.
Wow. Of all of the sports that you could have landed on, how did you end up in this?
I was the shortest kid in the class, had, the red curly hair, big, thick Coke bottle glasses. I was kind of the quintessential, maybe not sporty kid, to put it politely. But I love sport. I wanted to be the best at something. And I also wasn't super coordinated hand-eye coordination-wise when I was younger. And if you combine that with the big, thick glasses, ball sports weren't compatible with me. I got hit in the face with a lot of different balls and broke a lot of glasses, and eventually tried running. My elementary school had a little popsicle stick run. You run laps of the field at lunch, you get popsicle sticks, you turn them in to your teacher and record your progress throughout the year. And I fell in love with that, just going out and running every lunch hour, for the 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And eventually that led me into joining a track club. And a year later, after joining the track club, my brother had his appendix taken out and couldn't run. And his high school coach said, "Hey, there's this weird thing called race walk. Don't really know much about it, but maybe you could try it and it won't pull on your stitches so much and you can stay fit while you recover." And so my older brother, Adam, he went and tried that and won a medal in his first race. And as the younger brother, you kind of think, well, if he can do it, it's got to be pretty easy. And so I went out and gave it a try, and I won my first race. And 10 years old, was hooked on it.
I was going to say, when you talk to athletes, they'll often talk about somebody that they looked up to, somebody that they saw themselves in, and that they could imagine, with hard work, maybe they would get somewhere close to that person. Was it your brother for you, or was there somebody else in race walking that you were able to kind of find inspiration from?
No, not specifically in race walking. When I look back, I wasn't the biggest role model kind of person. There wasn't one single person I looked up to. I grew up in a household. My dad coached at the Munich Olympics in 1972 as a swim coach. Yeah. And so I grew up, my brother and I grew up in a house where the Olympics were talked about quite casually. It was a thing Dad went to. And so it was never put up on a pedestal. It never seemed like this ginormous feat. It just sort of seemed like, oh, yeah, that's a thing that I could do one day. And so I think that normalization of it made it a lot less scary, I guess. I never, from 10 years old, I wanted to go to the Olympics. And I never really felt like that was a crazy thing to think. So I think that really helped. And then obviously, Terry Fox is probably one of the biggest people I did look up to, just because we learned so much about him in elementary school and his story. And, you do the Terry Fox runs. And that was always so amazing to me as someone who loved going out and running for the 40 minutes of lunch. His story always just amazed me and resonated with me from quite a young age.
What did you take from Terry Fox's story? I mean, he's always been, to a lot of people, the epitome of an athlete who just grinds through things. Running a marathon a day in whatever weather, whatever condition, for this kind of higher purpose. What did you take from him?
Just that perseverance, for sure. And then, I think from a really young age, understanding that he was doing something that was bigger than himself. It was, these are the skills that I have, and I want to use them in a way that makes a difference for others. And that's something that I've certainly tried to take on board. That idea, I walk fast for a living. That's, essentially, when you break it down, it's maybe not the most useful skill, but being able to find creative ways to take that skill and take that passion and use it. Kids Sport is a charity that's really near and dear to my heart. And I've been able to use my walking to help raise over $50,000 for Kids Sport over the years. And I think that doing it, being able to do that is certainly, a door that was open to my mind from following on from the example that Terry set.
What do you think people misunderstand about your sport?
I think walking makes it sound easy. I think that's the biggest thing. And so that's the biggest misconception, is just that, it's easier than running. Whereas the aerobic components, how hard you work your body is exactly the same. And that's why I like to describe it as just running with rules, because I think that helps to kind of give people that better understanding of sort of just how hard you are working. That myth is very quickly dispelled whenever anyone tries it. It only takes a couple hundred meters of someone trying it to think, you do this for 50 kilometers, and now it's 20 kilometers, but still I would say that's the biggest myth. And I always just suggest, go out and try it for a couple hundred meters and see how it feels. And you'll get a quick sense of, just how hard it is.
In that clip that we played at the beginning, the commentator talked about how in 2016 you came close to getting an Olympic medal. You ended up in fourth place in Rio. This finish was initially contested. It is known as the bump now. Can you describe what happened with the bump? Yeah,
so coming up to the, from from about 45K to about 49K, I was slowly chipping away. I was in fourth place, slowly making up that gap on the athlete in third place. By 49K, I had pulled up side by side with Hiroki Arai of Japan. We were a kilometer away from the finish, battling it out under the hot Rio sun, trying to win a medal. And neither of us at that point in time could walk in a straight line. We were both at sort of, the end of our capabilities, and we kind of just got too close to each other. Elbows got tangled up. And for me at that point in time, I had been really internal. I had been asking my body, take one more step, take one more step, take one more step for about 5,000 steps at that point. And as soon as we kind of got a little tangled up, my brain went from this really narrow focus of take one more step to, oh, hey, what's going on around me? And as soon as that awareness kind of opened up to that level, my legs went, no more steps, and my knees buckled. And, I really struggled that last 800 meters or so to even just make it to the finish line. A couple hours after the race, Hiroki had been disqualified. I was elevated to the bronze medal. He then appealed. About an hour, 2 hours later, I was put back into fourth place. He was reinstated into third. And then I got back to the village, saw the video, saw what had happened for the first time and since the race several hours later, and realized immediately that what he had done didn't amount to something that deserved a disqualification. It was just a unlucky event, unfortunate, and I wasn't going to try and take that medal away from him, and so chose not to appeal the appeal and let everything stand.
Many people would have done that. It's an Olympic medal. Many people would have appealed the appeal. Why didn't you do that?
I would have 4 years earlier. I grew up, unfortunately, thinking that winning was the only thing that mattered. I hinged my success on whether I won or lost, and that finally came to a head in terms of realizing that it was not a fruitful strategy for a happy life or a successful life. Standing on the sidelines of the 2012 Olympics, an Olympics that I had wanted to be in. I wanted to be on the other side of that fence racing, and there I was on the sidelines cheering on my teammate, but not actually competing. And from that moment, worked really, really hard, got a sports psychologist, and redefined what success looked like to me, and understanding that success isn't the winning or the losing. Success is the pushing with everything you have in the pursuit of those goals and of those dreams. And, I was so lucky to be the person I was by the time that Rio Olympics came around, because, certainly a few years earlier, I would have been in that same boat of saying, no, I need that medal. Without that medal, I'm a failure. So I'm going to appeal and try to get it. So for me, it's a really nice opportunity to look back and say, wow, look how much I've changed, look how much I've grown through chasing after these goals and chasing after these dreams. And it's something that I can tell kids when I do my school talks. Hey, whatever your goal is, whatever your dream is, in the process of chasing after it, like, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to transform who you are as a person, all for the better. And so for me, it's become this amazing story to get to share and to look back on and reflect on what it kind of means in my career.
How long did it take you to get to that place? Because fourth place, everybody will say is the hardest position to finish in, because it's outside of those medals. And so now you can look back and say that you've learned from it. But in that moment, it must have been excruciating.
I wish I could say it was, but it wasn't. I came across that line. I'd set a national record. It was the best race I'd ever had at that point in time. There were so many good things to take away from it. I raced a little stupidly. The athlete who ended up winning, Mate Toth, came to me the next day, and we were chatting. We're friends, and he kind of said, you should have won that race. If you had raced it a little bit more tactically smart, you were probably the fittest guy out there. You probably actually could have won the race. That's something you don't necessarily want to hear the day after finishing fourth from the guy that actually won the race, telling you that maybe you should have won it. But, I didn't look at it as, I lost the bronze medal in the last kilometer. I kind of looked at it more of like, I got carried away. It was my first Olympics. I made some silly tactical decisions. That's kind of what I looked back on more of, like, I can fix those. I can do better with those. It wasn't necessarily the fourth that I dwelled on. It was more kind of other parts of the race that I could improve upon next time around.
That 50-kilometer race is now eliminated from the Olympic Games, in part because there's no equivalent women's event. What do you make of that decision?
It's a cop-out.
A cop-out?
We'd been pushing that excuse, at least. We'd been pushing for years for a women's 50K. We finally got one at the World Championships in 2017 that was, done so poorly that we only ended up having 6 women compete in it because of the way that it was rolled out. We should have had a women's 50K at the Olympics. That should have been the solution. At the World Championships, we raced together, so we were all on the same start line. It was one race, separate, scored separately. Obviously, you had results for men, had results for women, but we went from being the least equitable event, where there wasn't even a chance for women to compete, to the most equitable event, where we were literally on the same start line. In many cases, the top women beating many of the men. So, if that was the only issue with it, the IOC easily could have solved that.
Okay, so why do you think they pulled the plug on it?
It's a free event that doesn't require any infrastructure. My naive opinion of it is that they just can't make money off of us. Whereas those are the exact same reasons why I love my event. We go to the Olympics and we provide an opportunity, along with the marathons, the triathlons, the cycling events, for anyone to come and feel the magic of the athletes. I really do believe that there's something to be said about getting to watch up close these athletes
standing on the side of the road and watching somebody do something extraordinary.
Exactly, and it doesn't require, not everyone can afford to go watch Usain Bolt run the 100-meter final, right? Like, that's just not possible. But we provide an opportunity for anyone to rock up on the side of the road and be 5 feet away from athletes performing at their physical best. And I think there's an inspiration in that, and a strong motivator, especially as a walker. I get to tell people that walking is great exercise. What a great place to be able to be, that I get to tell people if all you do is go out and walk your dog or walk to the grocery store or whatever it is, you're being active, and that counts. And we need more of that. I think being an ambassador for the concept of walking, I think, is a powerful tool in this day and age.
Does a decision like that, and I mean, you've talked about some of the controversy that surrounds Olympics. In Tokyo, for example, people didn't want the games. That often comes up. It costs extraordinary amounts of money to host these games. People end up, cities end up being, holding the bag after they're done. But does a decision like that, when it comes to your sport, reducing it down to they can't make money from it, does that change how you think about the Olympics?
It's part of it, for sure. I think I've gone on a journey over many years about how I feel about the Olympics and how I feel about the IOC and how I rationalize my place within the movement. I've had some very difficult conversations with myself around that. But certainly it is tough to see, these events that from all other information we have are successful. The broadcast data that we've been able to see that doesn't become public tells us that it's not because people weren't watching it. So then you get, you start to question those decisions and wonder, if there's deeper reasons behind these things. And,
so where are you at now with that? I mean, what is your thinking, having gone through this? And it's not about the people who are competing. It's about, as you said, the IOC, the infrastructure, the machine that's around it. Where are you at with that now?
Well, it's tough. I mean, I really struggle with some of those big components of it, and probably part of hard to reduce into a quick answer. But what I would say is that what I hold my hat on or hang my hat on is that idea of the fact that I get to go out there and be an ambassador and for that hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes, represent my country, represent the power of walking, so to speak, and get to do that for all to take part in and to see, and that's kind of what I have to focus on more than the bigger apparatus of everything else, because I somehow do have to rationalize my place within this movement as this is my career. And this is the thing that I did dream about when I was 10 years old, and I get to live my dream now. So, there's a lot of privilege within that. So that's kind of where I set my focus and how I rationalize my spot within the movement.
You're going to be competing in the men's 20-kilometer race walk. You'll also be competing in this new competition, the mixed marathon walk relay event.
Yes, it's a mouthful, isn't it?
But it's really interesting when you think of it, as you say it and you walk through even what the title of it is. It's fascinating. Can you just tell me a little bit about what that's going to look like?
Yeah, so it's the event that's replaced the 50K. It's a total of a marathon, so just over 42 kilometers. 2 athletes, 1 male, 1 female. You each do 2 legs. So you each do legs adding up to about a half marathon, starting with the men. So I will start the race. I'll do about 11K, hand over to my teammate Olivia. She'll do about 11K. She'll hand back over to me. I'll do 10K. She'll do 10K.
And you've been coaching Olivia too, right?
Yeah, so I get this really unique privilege of getting to be not only teammates with Olivia, but I'm also her coach. So, provides this really, we just snuck in. We were one of the last teams to qualify. And so to be able to just help Olivia, how many coaches get to say they had that direct of an impact in helping their athlete qualify for the Olympic Games, let alone being in the race and physically being a part of that team. So really, really looking forward to that opportunity, getting her that Olympic experience at such a young age. She's 21 years old. When we went to Turkey for our qualifying race, she had to get a bunch of her university exams moved, and they moved a bunch of them to July, and she had to come back and say, hey, actually, I can't actually write the exam in July either because I kind of qualified for the Olympics.
Kinda.
Yeah.
It's a good excuse.
Exactly, yeah. All of our professors were very accommodating that, as you can imagine.
You have this really sophisticated idea of what it means to be at the games and what it means to do well. What does success in Paris look like for you?
Giving myself every opportunity to be my best. My goal is still I want to win. I want to win gold. I want to win a medal. But my success will look. My success isn't determined by that outcome. My success will be determined by if I gave myself every chance to achieve that goal. And so far, I can say that I'm on track for that. I've been training really well. I've been really focused, keeping everything on track. And so, yeah, everything looks set to put myself in the position where I can walk away from the race, regardless of the result, feeling like I did everything I could. And that's all I can really ask for.
Just last question. I don't know if you have a dog or not, but when you go out for like a leisurely walk, if you walk the dog, is the dog kind of running with you? Can you just stroll casually down the street, or are you always hustling?
It depends. I think when I go out for a walk without purpose, I can be quite slow. I love exploring new cities on foot. I love kind of just getting lost and wandering around and experiencing a city in that way. However, if I'm walking to the grocery store, where there's a task, there's a purpose, there's an end goal, I find myself definitely at a pace that most people would probably find annoying. Let's put it that way.
Or difficult to keep up with.
Yes.
It's awesome. You're a fantastic athlete, and you've done really, really well. Your idea of success and the sophistication and the humility and grace that you kind of give yourself is really quite something. We will be watching. Congratulations on everything that you've done, and good luck in Paris.
Thank you so much.
Evan Dunfee will be competing for Canada in the Paris Olympics in race walking. He was in Richmond, BC, and in the coming weeks we will speak with more Olympic athletes from Team Canada. Stay tuned for that.